Hello, everybody. This is Nikki from Motherhood Unfiltered. It's going to be okay. And on today's podcast, I have Randi-Lee Bowslaugh, and she is an author, an outspoken advocate of mental health. She shares her story with honesty, and she has spoken at events that promote wellness and compassionately shares her experience with her own mental health. She's a mom of two teenagers, a grandmother. She doesn't look old enough to be a grandmother, trust me, a wife, and a competitive kickboxer. She's a certified personal trainer who has represented Team Canada internationally. Even after battling cancer, she returned to coaching and competing. And I'm so glad to have her on today to tell us about her story and how we can, even when we're struggling with our own mental health struggles, we can still smile and keep going. So, oh, before I forget, because I forget, if you're listening on the podcast, please go to Spotify or iTunes and rate the podcast. If you're watching this on the YouTube, please comment, like, and subscribe. If you've already subscribed, you're awesome, and share it with someone that you care about. And don't forget, I'm offering my virtual workshop again in April. I almost forgot. So the first full week of April, the 6th through the 9th, if you sign up, you can take it for free and you get to talk to me or listen to me yammer for 4 days. It's not 4 full whole days. But anyway, we have so much fun in the class and I hope you will sign up. So now let's bring on Randi-Lee. Hi,
Hello.
Randi-Lee.
Hi.
I always forget to say, please rate the podcast.
Right? You gotta go. You gotta rate it. You gotta hit the like, subscribe, follow button. Do it all.
I know. I always forget. And then I'm like, anyway. So so glad that we finally got a chance to get on here and talk about your journey and all the things that you've been going through. And Wendy, I saw that you said you was a grandmother. I was like,
Yes, I
nah,
am. Yes. Yeah. He's 3. And Grammy's his favorite.
of course. I know I have a 6-year-old and she's something else. I pray for her parents. So and they're expecting their second one in May, and I'm so excited. I can't wait to see him. So in
Yep.
love with him already. So, but yeah, being a grandma at first, I just cried. I cried for 3 days when they told me they were expecting because I was like, I'm too young.
I got you beat.
I know. But then I'm like, then when as soon as I saw her on the ultrasound, it was it.
Right? Your
I
heart just
fell in love with
melts.
her.
Yeah.
I
And you just want
know.
to hold them and love them. And yeah. Yeah.
That's exactly what it was like. I fell in love with her and she is a pistol. So, yeah,
Yep.
I pray for her parents.
That's good.
So, Randi-Lee, so tell us about, your story and so you did competitive kickboxing and I know you've written books, but you do the kickboxing before or after you had your bout with cancer?
I started beforehand.
Okay.
I started about 11 years ago ish.
Mm. Mhm.
Um, and I had cancer. I think we're going come this summer, it'll be 5 years. So kind
Okay.
of right in the middle, I guess. Um,
Wow.
yeah, somewhere in around there, 4 or 5 years. So obviously I took time off, had to deal with that. We're all good now. And then I was able to compete again till COVID hit and coach again. And then
Mhm.
last year in January, my body was like, you know what? We're just not doing that anymore. And I'm like, but we're so young. Why aren't we? So the doctors haven't quite figured out what's wrong yet. So we're
Okay.
trying. We'll figure it out and maybe eventually get back
My
to it
body tells
again.
me that every morning, like, "We're not gonna get out of bed just yet." We're not
right?
ready for this.
Yeah, and then I go to doctors and I'm like, "Hey, so this hurts, that hurts. This is what's going on." They're like, "Oh, but you're so young." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm aware. So fix me."
Yeah, exactly. What's happening here?
Yeah.
Well, I hope, everything turns out okay with that. So, what was your first book that you wrote?
So the first one's called Thoughts of a Wanderer, and that one was published in 2017.
Uh-huh.
It's a collection of all the poems that I wrote as a teenager to help deal with my depression. And
Oh, okay.
I found them in the basement and I was like, huh, I don't really want to throw them out. I have this weird sentimental attachment to them.
Yeah.
But I also don't want them sitting in the basement doing nothing. Like I forgot I even had them, right? Like so they're sitting there doing nothing. So I went, okay, well I always said I was gonna write a book. I'm just gonna do it. So I did. At the time I was writing it, I was also going through a pretty bad depression. So I sat in a blanket fort. Yep, made a blanket fort in my room, and wrote, kind of put it all together, wrote like a beginning and an end, and
Yeah.
said, "Okay, there's my first book." And now, now that I'm over 10 books
Wow.
later, I kind of want to go back and re-look at that first one and do like a re-release of
Yeah.
it in the future.
That's so amazing. I knew I had written poetry when I was a teenager too, but I thought it was just a all bunch of piece of crap, so I tore it all up one day because I was so mad at myself,
Oh, no. What's
and I
that?
don't have it anymore. But I've written things since then, and I've kept it, and, it to me, it's just a work in progress, but
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
more into f to free writing, and just screaming at somebody in my journals.
Hey, you know what? You'd be surprised the all the books that are out there. There's something for everybody, so you never know who'd wanna read it. Just
Well, I
saying.
don't know. I probably should I might keep that one a secret, but
You're allowed to have some.
yeah. So what was your, but you've got a new book out, don't you?
It will be out very soon. So I did publish
Okay.
one last no, not last year, not 2022. Published one in 2021,
Okay.
Embracing Me. And again, that's my journey with depression. And the one
Yeah.
that comes out this year, May 20th
Mhm.
to be exact, it's called Goodbye Too Soon. And it's about my brother's death by a drug overdose.
Oh my gosh, Randy Lee. We that is just so heartbreaking because we all have someone that we love that has been affected by that. And I don't it just feels it feels like an overwhelming thing to deal with. And
Yeah.
it just makes me wanna cry,
Well,
So,
that's why
I
when you
mean
read the book, you have tissues.
so I do need to get tissues when I read it, okay.
Yeah, yep. I have been told by the beta readers that it made them cry. So, yes, have tissues.
Okay, I will keep that in when I order the book, I will get a box of tissues with it.
Perfect.
So what was the things that, was there something in there that you had to tell a story about? Like, was it something that this helped me, and so I need to tell the story to help somebody else?
Yeah, so when my brother died, he was 37.
Uh-huh.
So it comes out on the 2-year anniversary of his death.
Mhm.
And I kept thinking to myself, his death can't mean nothing. And that's
Yeah.
why I was like, "Hey, if I use this story," especially I had already written a bunch of books, so it wasn't uncommon for me to talk about my story, my life.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
and Brandon, that's my brother's name. Brandon
Mhm.
always loved helping people. Like he had
Aw,
literally given somebody the shoes off his feet once because they didn't have any and he had more at home. So,
right.
he had a good heart. He just had a
Yeah,
really bad mental illness that he couldn't get
right.
over. So I thought, you know what, he wanted to help people. I have this ability to talk and share and write. So in order for his death to mean something, I was like, yeah, I'll share it.
Yeah.
So I did, and it was very cathartic writing it for sure.
Mhm. Right. Well, I love that you decided to I mean, even though he couldn't tell his own story, you're actually telling it for him, and letting other people know that I just hate that there's so many self-diagnosing people with a mental illness out there, and I mean, how do we get the health care to them? You know, if they can't come to us, how do we get it to them?
That is the $1,000,000 question that I
Yes, it
don't have
is.
an answer for, but I think what we can do as just the general population, not a
Mhm.
doctor,
Yeah.
is do exactly what we're doing right now. Talk about it, make it a safe space for
Yeah.
those people to come out and come and maybe find help, because that's part of the problem is you don't
Mhm.
want to admit it. You don't want to go seek help. You don't want to say, "Hey, I'm weak.
Yeah.
There's a problem with me," whatever it might be. So
Right.
by us just as a general population changing the way
Yeah.
we talk about it, um,
Right.
we can change the way that maybe they giving them a safe space to come out. Um,
Yeah.
that's actually one of the big things that I talk about early on in the book,
Mhm.
is because people often will say an addict. Oh, that guy's an addict. He's a druggie. He's a user. So I
Mhm.
tried very hard to make sure that I put the point across person with addiction or a
Yeah.
person with a mental illness that is addiction, whatever, however,
Yeah.
the sentence needed to work. But I really
Yeah.
wanted to put across that it's a person first and foremost. They're not
Yes.
just they're not just drugs.
Exactly. I mean, they are people and they have this thing that they're dealing with, and that's, maybe it was recreational at first, but then they started using it whenever they had a bad day,
Yeah.
or they went through a bad time in their life, and now it's overtaken their whole system and they can't live
Mhm.
without it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have, I come from family members with addiction, and most of them are my siblings. And it's just been really hard seeing them struggle, and I don't know how to help them. I just try to be there for them, and whenever they want me to be there, but they go through times where they can't be around anybody because,
Mhm.
that's just part of the mental illness that they're dealing with.
Exactly.
It's really hard. It's hard to see them suffer because me, I just want to take it away and
Mhm.
give them a happy life.
And if only it was that simple.
I
You just
know.
wave a magic wand and make everybody better.
My wand is broken, Randy-Lee. I need to get it
Well,
in for
go
fix.
find a fairy godmother, get it fixed so you can solve the problem.
Exactly, exactly. So when you were going through your cancer, I mean, what were some things that you did to help keep you from, um, being down or, did you use the kickboxing as an outlet for
Um,
that?
yeah, no, I did stop kickboxing during that whole period of time.
Yeah.
Um, I I just kinda focused on everything but that. It took me actually probably a good year before I stopped and went, "Holy crap, I had cancer. I could have died." Um, because it's this mentality of just get through it, get to the next day, do, this, I have to go to this doctor
Oh,
appointment, that
yeah.
doctor appointment.
Yeah.
And for me at that time, my son was just, for lack of a better term, going crazy. Um,
I
and
think all teenagers go through that.
well, so my youngest has autism, anxiety,
Right.
depression, ADHD, right? So
Yeah.
at that time, his meltdowns were very severe. He was basically the same size as me at that point because he was what,
Oh
oh,
my.
10, 11.
Yeah.
So it was I couldn't stop him. I couldn't help him. I didn't know how to help him. So we were
Yeah.
having to call 911 on a near daily basis because
Oh
we
my.
couldn't give
Yeah.
him the support he needed.
Right.
And he got on a wait list to go to a treatment place. And we
Mhm.
were really hoping that he was going to get in there when I had to go for surgery. But of course, it didn't work out that way.
Yeah.
um, but he did eventually get in there after I had 2 surgeries, and I was
Uh-huh.
pretty much healed, and then he finally got in. And it made a really big difference for him, which was good, but so
Right.
at
Well,
that time,
good.
it was hard to focus on the cancer because I had to focus
Yeah.
on what he needed.
Maybe that was a godsend, I don't know, you know?
Could be a
Because, I
blessing in
mean,
disguise, yeah.
it could be because if I was focusing on that and didn't have anything else to worry about, I would just be very on me. I would definitely have turned into this, like, cancer-ridden narcissist, you know?
Right?
And not that that's a bad thing, but, sometimes it's best to have something to keep us occupied
Yeah.
so that, you know, we don't really feel like we're gonna fall apart in that moment, and then, like you said, a year later, you're like, "Wait a minute, I had freaking cancer. I could have died."
Exactly, and a couple times I'd be at different places, whether it was back at work or, at business
Yeah.
meetings or whatever, and people would say,
Mhm.
"Wow, you're a cancer survivor," and I'm like, "I guess so." Right? I didn't identify as that, um, because in
"Where's
my
my
mind
plaque?"
right? In my mind, I had surgery, they took it away. I was lucky, right? Like, I didn't have to go
Yeah.
through chemo and radiation. So in
Gotcha.
my mind,
Okay.
I wasn't that, but I
But
was.
you are.
Not
But
I
you
was, yeah,
are.
I am, but it's to admit that to myself was I don't know why, but it was really hard.
Wow. Wow, I can't believe that you would be, like, maybe like, I'm not all that, you know, but you were. I mean, even if the doctor took that away from you, I mean, it still could have went bad, you know,
Yeah,
and you still could have had to have chemo after the surgery.
yeah.
You
Well,
know,
and
sometimes they still do that.
after the second surgery, it did go bad, actually. I ended up
Okay.
getting an infection, and I was back in the hospital
Oh my
overnight,
gosh.
and yeah, so I did actually almost die. Like, I don't think I've ever seen my husband so scared. We've been together
Oh,
our entire adult lives, and I don't think I've ever seen
yeah.
him so scared. He was like, "No, you're going back to the hospital right now." And I'm like, "Oh, fine. It's okay, I'm fine." Like, I could barely sit up. I was so dehydrated. Like, it was awful. He's like, "No, I'm taking you back right now." So he took me
Oh my
back, and
god.
immediately, they took me into the emergency room and hooked me up to IV and started doing test
Yeah.
after test to see what was going
Yeah.
on, and yeah, I was, going what's that word? Septic? Where the
Yeah. Oh
infection's
my
going all over?
gosh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it
You
was
coulda went just like that.
yeah, it was
My
really bad.
I'm glad he took you. I
Me
mean,
too. Don't listen
yeah.
to me. I'm not fine.
I
So
was out of my head.
right, exactly. So as much as I didn't have to go through chemo or radiation or anything, that cancer still almost did take me out.
Yeah. I've heard of people that have, you know, had something like cancer or, um, something else, and they're, you know, and they survive, like, cancer, but then they die from pneumonia,
Yeah,
you know, because their immune system was so low. And I'm like, "Crap, man. He beat
right?
the big thing," you know, and then this tiny little thing came by and got him, you know?
Right? That's just it. My cancer was gone. I'm gonna be taken out by an infection? What?
Exactly.
And
We
now,
got
of
antibiotics
course
for that.
right? Oh, they hooked me up good. No. Um, and now every time any little thing happens, I'm like, "Is it back? Please don't be back."
Oh, yes, yes. I would definitely yeah, I would do that too. I
Yeah,
definitely would, but I'm
I think
glad
it's common.
it probably is. You know, every little thing you sneeze, you're like, you know, and now when I sneeze or cough, I'm like, "Oh my god, I got COVID again.
Oh
Who
my
was
goodness,
I
right?
around that gave me COVID?" You know,
I
because
had
I
it
don't go
twice
anywhere.
already.
Yeah, and I've had it. I know I've tested positive twice, and there was a third time I was sick. I know I had it because it was the same symptoms and everything, but
Yeah.
I don't leave my house anymore. I might go be with my family,
Mhm.
but I don't go out in public. Like, I did go to Walmart for the first time in maybe, like, a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
Because usually I will order our groceries now and go pick them up.
Yeah, so convenient.
I It is, but it's turned me into this big lazy person. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
well,
too
there's
good to
always down
go I'm too good to go into Walmart now and get my own groceries, okay?
I love going to the Walmart. I always find different things. They
Well,
actually
so
have delivery. delicious cookies that I can eat because I'm like gluten-free, dairy-free, rice, and all this other stuff that makes my stomach hurt. And they have these
Oh
cookies.
my.
They're the only place that has them. Don't ask me what
What's
they're
the
called. I can't
name of
remember.
them?
But I know what the box
Oh.
looks like when I see it. I don't remember the name though.
Okay, we'll have to have another episode so that Randy-Lee can tell us what kind of cookies she likes from Walmart.
I'll bring the box with me and show you. Just gives me an excuse to go and buy cookies.
Yeah.
I like this.
But I got to tell the people, husband, okay? You know.
Exactly.
Yeah, so my son and I, my oldest son, we went to Walmart and he's like, "Mom, you're like jumping in front of people, grabbing stuff in front of people." I'm like, "I forgot how to act." You know.
Like a kid in a candy store because it's been so long.
I know. And I was like, "I'm not trying to be rude. I just thought
Yeah.
I'll grab those hot dogs real fast, you know, before the other person gets over there." But he was
Right?
so
Yeah.
I told him, I was like, "Listen, if I'm embarrassing you, you'll have to go to the car because I can't help myself. I'm just all over the place."
That's hilarious. It's probably like me the first time I went to Costco. I was like, oh, what's this? What's this?
I know. I know my husband said something about going to Costco. I'm like, I've never been there. I probably shouldn't go there. It would probably be a bad thing. So,
It would probably be an expensive thing.
yeah, exactly. So, what would be your favorite like mental wellness tip that you would give to somebody?
So animals would probably be my favorite. Animals in
Oh
nature.
my goodness, yes.
So I
I
have
got
some
2
cats.
cats when I went through a last bout of depression. Yeah.
I have 4
We
cats.
do have a dog too, yeah.
I have 3 of those. I have 4 cats and 3 dogs. Well, because okay, so here's the thing. When you have 3 or more dogs, you have a pack. So when we had 2, we might as well make it a pack and get 3. And with cats, if you have 3 or more, it's a clouder. So I had to have a clouder of cats.
Is that what they're called when there's
It's
3 or
what they're
more? It's
called.
called
A clouder.
I
Yeah.
had no idea.
I hope I'm
I love
saying that
my
right. I
cat.
think so.
Oh, well, I had no idea. When I went through my last bout, my friend, her cat had a litter, and they were all like, black and white, smoky grays, and there was
Yeah.
2 tabbies,
Aw.
and I said, "I want those 2 tabbies."
Aw.
And I brought him home after 6 weeks, and we love him to death.
Yeah.
And my husband calls we have a 14-pound cat. He calls him the trash cat because he will find trash and then put it under our bed. So it's
Cats
the
are
weirdest.
hilarious.
I know. So my husband like got under the bed this morning and he got a banana peel, a piece of cellophane, a piece of a bread tie, and then some lint, and there was a sock under there. He's like, "Look at our trash cat." He's like gathering trash now.
That's so funny. Yeah, no, my
He
cats don't do that. My dogs will just eat trash, if that counts.
Yeah. So that's your number 1 tip is like be around pets
Yeah, be
because they
around
will
pets.
love you
Yeah,
unconditionally. I
exactly. You
mean,
leave them for 5 minutes, come back, they will just adore you.
yeah.
Yeah, you ever
Yes,
wanna
I
feel
do believe
loved.
that
Yep.
one. Yes. And do you have any other tips for,
I have oodles of tips. So then I would say, therapy.
yeah.
That one is a really big go-to for me.
Mhm.
I've done a few different styles, and that's the thing that I really like about therapy is that there are
Mhm.
different kinds. So I always say on my show, if you
I think I lost you. Are you still there? Randy-Lee? Oh, no. Are you there? Uh-oh.
All right, am I back?
You're back. Thank you.
Okay. I could hear and see you the whole time, but we had this really big ice storm
Yeah.
the other day,
Uh-huh.
and ever since then, my internet has been quite wonky. So
Yeah, it's probably a
yeah,
frozen fiber optic line under the ground.
yeah, yeah. It's
So,
very frustrating though, because I don't like winter to begin with, and then it just messes with.
yeah, I know. You're in Ontario, right? Or no. Well, crap. I just lost your I can't hear you again. Don't you love technology? When when she comes back for this from this commercial break, we will just wait. Oh, she's doing a private chat. Hold on.
Am I back?
You're Yes, I can hear you again.
Okay. Yay!
Okay. So there's you said there's different types of therapy? I
Yeah.
gotta hear about this.
Okay. So I mean, obviously, I don't know all of them because I'm not a
Yeah,
actual therapist.
right.
But so for myself, I know about cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which is probably the most common one, I'm going to say.
Mhm,
Changing your
mhm.
thoughts to change your behavior. Dialectical behavior therapy, so DBT.
Mm.
And that one, that's the one that I did last time with my therapist, which was amazing. And
Wow.
I don't know if I'll describe it the best, but
Mhm.
it was teaching me skills to kind of stop in the moment and figure out if something was true or not using facts.
Oh,
Yes, it
that could
was
be life-changing.
it it totally is. So for instance, whenever I used to talk
Yeah.
to the school for my kid, because again, having all those issues and being called
Yeah.
all the time, I would get so emotional every time the school would call, and my emotions would take over, and then I wouldn't be able to have a really good, firm conversation with them.
Yeah. Right,
Um,
right, yeah.
so by doing what she said, which was a couple of things. So one was, if I know I'm going to be talking to them, make a list, stick to that list of facts. Don't let emotions come in, stick to the list of facts. If they go off topic, then say, no, I'm staying on topic.
Yeah.
Um, and then the other thing was, when you're talking to them or to somebody, ask myself, is that true? So do I have any facts that um, are like, so I'm trying to think of a good example. So if the school
Mhm,
would tell me, we think that he should go to a different class because they put him in so many different classes, I could
mhm,
think, okay, well, is this a fact that he can't be in this class, or is it just
mhm.
a feeling that they're telling me? Well, it's more just a feeling that they're telling me. It's not a fact. The fact is, we
Right.
haven't put in the right supports, so we need to
Mhm.
try something else before moving him. Um, and so just kind of trying to stick to the facts, which is not the easiest thing when your emotions are going,
No.
but that was super
My
helpsful.
kids Oh my god, that I wish I had known that because my oldest son, suffers from schizoaffective disorder.
Okay.
So that is basically bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. So the school would call and say, all so and so said this.
Hmm.
And and there would be times I would like get so upset, like, why would he say that? You
Right.
know? And but I finally got to a point said, listen, he's not going to do that. Like he's like for Halloween, they asked him what he was going to do for Halloween. He said, I'm going to go home and sacrifice my brothers. And they were so upset about that. I said, he's not going to do that. He says things from stories and videos
Yep.
that he watches, okay? It's just coming out of his brain, out of his mouth. Most kids just keep it in, you know. or
Yeah.
they just, so he doesn't know how to stop the things from coming out of his mouth, and I'm like, "People, you've got to chill out, okay?"
Mhm.
He would cry if he hurt somebody, okay? You know?
Yeah.
But, I mean, I got calls almost every day, and I know I would just go home and cry, or I go in the
Yeah.
bathroom at work and cry, because
Mhm.
I'm like, they don't under first of all, it would get to the point where I don't know what to do with him, and then second of all, I'd be like, "I don't know what to do with these people at school," you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't take care of them too, you know? But
Right?
anyway,
Yeah.
but we just kept him in therapy, and he's almost 30 now, and he's does great,
Oh,
but
good.
yeah, there's hope out there. I've interviewed people who there's one gentleman, he's has, schizophrenia, and he's, almost 70, and he lives on his own, and he does great, takes care of himself.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so my biggest fear was what happens to me is Junior gonna be able to take care of himself, you know?
Right? Yeah.
But I don't worry about that anymore because he knows he has to take his medication to feel good. Once he stopped hearing the voices and he took his medication, and then when
Mhm.
he stopped and he started having those auditory hallucinations again, it scared him, because
Yeah.
he grew up with hearing those voices. So he was always used to having them there. And so
Mhm.
now he takes his medicine, and I've taught him how to feed himself. He knows how to clean and do laundry. I made
Oh,
sure he knows
good.
how to do all that. So it was a long struggle, but, as a parent, you just keep working at it and you're like, "When is this going to end?" Well, if you keep working at it, it'll get to the point where, "Oh, he can do this and this and this, or they can do this and this and this,"
Mhm.
And he will need help with, certain things, but for the most part, he can take care of himself, but
Well, that gives
it
me some hope.
well, yeah, because I didn't have anybody to talk to about this, and that was one thing I had thought about doing was doing a support group for parents, especially moms who, because it was my worry, if I'm not here, what is going to happen to him,
Yeah.
and so I did everything I knew how to do. I mean, teaching him how to cook was easy because he liked to eat, so,
Oh, well,
I
that's
mean,
good. That's good.
and then I thought, well, at the least, I mean, he knows how to order food, you know?
There you go.
But the other stuff, the medication, the doctor's appointments, I mean, that's a lot,
It is. And
It's a
I
lot.
feel like we don't often think it's a lot until we have to actually teach that step by step how to do it. We take it for
Yes.
granted that it's just something you do.
Well, when you start out, it's usually one appointment, and they're like,
Yep.
"Okay, well," and then they have to go to someplace else, and then someplace else, and then you just
Right.
gradually build up with the responsibilities, but
Exactly.
it's like you're their case manager, you
Mhm.
know, and you have to make sure they take their meds and everything, I still today, will not as much, but I will periodically ask him if he's taking his meds just to make sure he's staying on track because 'cause he's
Yeah.
been doing so well, and, so he's like, "I don't need you to check up on me every day," you know?
But you're a mom, so you're gonna.
I can't help it, it's a habit.
Exactly.
So,
But that's
but
good because it means that he's doing what
yeah.
he's supposed to do.
Exactly. So now I don't have that worry anymore. I think that's where a lot of my anxiety came from was worrying about, are my kids going to be okay if I'm not here?
Yeah.
My other 2 boys, I know they'll be fine, but I don't worry about it at all.
Good.
So, and I just wish there were other, like yourself, 'cause, he's still at home, right?
Yeah, only 16.
Huh? He's
He's a
16, is that what you said?
16, yeah.
Oh lord, you're in the thick of it.
Exactly. He just got his license in December. Scary.
That's scary, and then what about all the sex stuff that comes up? That's scary too.
Yeah, yeah. We've definitely had the talk or 2 or 3 times.
I know. And,
And, like,
you know,
he
so you
has
have that.
yeah, he has no filter. No filter. It's
I
just
know.
like, "What? I'm a teenager. Teenagers do this." And I'm like, "I'm aware. I'm your mom. I don't need to hear it." Like, "I'm glad you're so open, but when you're in your room by yourself, you're in your room by
Just
yourself, it's
keep it
fine."
in your room by yourself.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, Randy-Lee, I remember those days when one of them brought home their girlfriend, and they're both talking to me about what they wanted their whole sex thing they wanna do together. I'm like, "I don't wanna hear this right now."
Well, I'm glad I haven't had that. It's only just been him by himself, so that's
Well, it might happen. I mean,
I know, he's 16.
usually, I mean, they find, like, the oldest finds a girl who's just like him, not just like him, but has, some kind of, disorder too, and it's like, you all have to stick together, huh? You know?
Yeah. Likes
So
like.
when does your new book come out? Did you
So,
say
y May 20th is the official release date, but it is on pre-order right now on Amazon, so you can pre-order the ebook, and then on May
okay,
20th, it will directly go to you. You don't have to think about it, remember, so go order it.
and the name of it again, and
Goodbye Too Soon.
good oh, that's the one about your brother.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
So you were gonna say Embracing Me, and that one is available now as well. That's
I was.
actually all the my first audiobook. That one is on Audible as well, and I narrate it.
Was that fun?
It
Did
was
you
so
enjoy
much
doing
fun. I've definitely learned a lot, so for the next one, hopefully I'll record one this summer, one of
Yeah.
my other books, because now I have this fancy stuff now in my fancy
Yeah, I see
office.
it.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
got a new microphone and everything, so it will be a higher quality,
Oh,
than
cool.
Embracing Me, but it's a learning experience, right? So I did the
Yeah.
best that I could with what I knew back then, and now I know more, so the next one will be even better.
Awesome. So you were able to record that right from your home?
Yeah.
Because for some reason, I was thinking that you still had to go, like, to, I don't know, Disney Studios or something.
Nope, no, you can do it all from the comfort of your own home. I would not suggest doing it in a basement though, where it's echoey. Learn my lesson.
Did you go back and listen to it, be like, "Well, this sounds not right?"
Well, I listened to it because I had to do edits, and I didn't like, it didn't sound horrible, like, it's definitely
Mhm.
okay, um,
Mhm.
but there's things that I could do to make it better.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's not like
Yeah.
the worst thing I've ever heard, I've definitely heard worse.
I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even pay attention to that, you know? I mean, I every once in a while, I'll pick up something in the background, but
Yeah.
maybe it's just because I have trouble hearing, but I usually if the story is so good, I mean, I'm, like,
Yeah,
focused on that, I don't even pay attention to anything else.
exactly. So I feel
Yeah,
like the story's really good. I might be
I'm
biased.
sure I'm sure it is. So, well, I will definitely put that on my Amazon book list is, like, growing, because everybody that I talk to has written a book, and
And they're all so good.
they are. That's why I talk to the people on my podcast.
I know. No, I do tons of book reviews, and some of them are so amazing that I'm like, "Hey, when is the next one coming out? You're sending it to me, right?"
I don't know if you've listened to Dana Schwartz. She
Mm,
has a podcast called Noble Blood,
okay.
and it's a historical podcast, but she's written a book called The Anatomy of something something, but it is so good. But let me look it up because I'm being a goober.
It's
I
as good
have
as
just
knowing how good the cookies are, but not knowing what they're called.
yes, Anatomy, a Love Story is what it's called,
Okay,
and it's very historical, but it's got, like, a scientific put input on it, and it's got a love
hmm,
story involved, and it is so good. I started it 2 days ago, and I'm almost done with it. It's an audiobook,
wow.
but you can get the hardcover too if you want that, but so, yeah, I just listen to everybody's books, and
Yeah.
there's not enough time in the day, so for me
I
to do
know.
that, but so before we, end our conversation, so your story about your brother, I just do you have any advice that you wanna give, everybody who's I know everybody who listens has probably at least one person they know or a relative that they know that is going through something like that.
Yeah, so a big theme in the book, that came out as I was writing it was
Mhm.
boundaries and forgiveness. So
Mm.
when you have somebody, and I think you probably will can
Mhm.
attest this, when you have somebody who has an addiction or any kind of mental illness, really,
Mhm.
you have to set boundaries. How
Yeah.
much are you willing to give before you
Mhm.
say no? And
Yeah.
so that was such a big theme with my brother,
Mhm.
because as soon as you would say no to him, you are an and I'm like, I'm not talking to you no more. Um, and then because when he died, then our whole relationship I had to stop. I'd be like, well, was there something I could do differently? Well,
Oh my
absolutely not. His
god.
choices were his choices. But
Yeah.
when somebody dies unexpectedly like that, you look at everything. So forgiveness for myself and for him.
Yeah.
So for myself, it was I forgive myself for needing to make those boundaries and
Mhm.
knowing that they were important. They were the right
Yeah.
thing to do. Um,
Mhm.
and forgiveness for him because he didn't wake up every day and go, "You know, it would be great if I got super high." No, he woke up every day
Yeah.
trying to fight a losing battle.
Mhm.
So forgiveness to him as well. And so that was a
Right.
really big theme that is talked about in the book. And the book really is written for the families.
Oh my gosh, that's such great advice, Randy Lee. Like, when you said that, I immediately thought of my mother because she felt so bad for telling, my siblings at certain times no,
Yeah.
and then she feels guilty, so then she reneges on that decision,
Yeah.
and it's just a conflict within her. And it doesn't matter if your child is a teenager or if they're a middle-aged person. They're still your child and you still want to give them everything that they ask for,
Yeah.
and I've just had so many conversations with her about that. That is really such great advice and setting boundaries for yourself, you
Mhm.
know, and oh my god, I that's just mind-blowing.
So pick
Thank
up
you
your
so
book
much.
because it's mind blowing with a box of tissues.
I will get I will get that for her and for myself.
There you go. Perfect. I love it.
Well, thank you so much, Randy Lee. I'm so excited that we've got to talk today, and I've had such a wonderful time.
Yeah, this was so much fun. Oh no, did I freeze again?